Today's video is going to be around creating and running a budget. But before we go on, if you haven't watched the main demo video on how all of these modules are included in the package, please go ahead and watch that video now. Today we're just going to talk a little bit around budgets. First things first, we need to create and define our budget. So we would go here to budget definition. If we pop into the list, we can see all the different budget definitions that we created. So if we go in there, we can see we have one for sales and sales versus expenses. If we just pop into this one, this is where we would create our budget. Again, if I just pop back out, you would create that from this budget definition screen here. If we just go back to one I made earlier, we'd give our budget definition a name and a description for that budget. Again, this can be anything you like, it's totally up to you. When do you want this budget definition to start, and for how many periods do you want this to run over what interval? So 12 periods over the interval of being monthly. That can be 12 periods weekly, fortnightly, quarterly, yearly, and so on. We're going to leave this as monthly. It'll then populate that end date that we're looking at there, so we can see the 30th of the 4th, 2015. Which departments would we like this budget definition to be active for? So if you have different cost centers or departments within your organization, you can go ahead and add those within here. So again, select which ones by clicking active, whether they're active or not. So we're looking at this default department and department new. We have activated it for those two. Then we're going to look at our two different criteria for our budget. Again, this can be anything you want it to be. We're going to make a amount for an aggressive variation, and the second amount is going to be for a conservative variation. So we would like to look at those two different fields. Once we've done that, we go ahead and hit save, and that'll then populate your different periods within that. So if we just jump back out of there and we go into our budget list, we can see, once we've done that, we can see that these periods have now been calculated. So we said 12 periods monthly, and that ending date, the 30th of the 4th, 2015, it'll then populate within here. Again, double click and it will take you back to what makes that up. We can now set our variations. So for each different period, you can now, again, as I said, set variation. So aggressively, we'd like to set a certain amount for this department, and aggressively for this department, we would like to set it at 100,000. Conservatively, we're going to look at it at, say, 250,000 for this department, and for our default department, conservatively, that budget's going to be around 50,000. So again, depending on what fields you had set those at, two different fields up for, so aggressive and conservative, that can be anything you want it to be. Again, we just set ours as this. So go ahead and you can set these up however you want them, and if you wanted to copy this over all your periods, like if you wanted them all the same, we can see we're looking at period number 4 right now that we drilled down into. If you want this copied over all your periods, you'd simply just click copy to all periods, or you can simply go ahead, click next period, and it will go to period 5. Jump back out of there. So there we can see our different periods, and again, you can double click, drill down into it, and see what makes that up. Jump back out. Once we've done that, we can have a look at our budget variations. If there has been any variations, we'll just go and select what budget we're going to look at. So that's sales versus expenses, and whether we want to make a change for the budget or for the period, and what period is it going to be. We'll just say for the budget. You can select choose our accounts, and whether it's going to be an increase over an amount, or sorry, an increase or a decrease for this advertising account over an amount or a percentage and what that is. So you can do budget variations from within here. Again, huge amount of options, whether you're going to action it by changing it or copying it, or running it for a change by period or budget, or a copy from a budget or a period. Go and select your period if you choose so. Choose your accounts, whatever the variation is, whether it's on the advertising account or whatever accounts you've set up here. Increase, decrease on what amount or what percentage, and fill in that amount over here, and whether this budget variation is active or not. So just make sure if it is active, go ahead and click that. We can also look at budget profit and loss reports. Jump into there. This is where we can see over our different accounts, over what quarters we're looking at, or whatever date ranges. We can see what's going on within our company in regards to the profit and loss of those different budgets. So we're going to look at it via monthly. We're going to show budget amount. We're going to select that sales and expenses, and we're going to select what date ranges we would like to view this over. We're going to say there, and we're going to hit refresh. So once we hit refresh, it'll then populate all those different variances that we applied, all those different profit and loss reports for that budget over this specific period. So we can see what the accounts are, what the actual is for that month, what the aggressive budget was, what the conservative budget was, and what the actual is. If we scroll across, again, a huge amount of information over there. So how your budgets have done and how close you were to viewing that. So if we can see our aggressive amount was 400,000, the variance being that amount, the conservative amount, the variance, and then the actual. So we can see we were quite far off, but you get the idea. So again, if you scroll to the right, huge amount of information there. Jump back out there. We can look at now our budget versus actual, or our job reports, budget versus actual. If we jump into there, again, we can see what different account types, what the account name is, and what the actual is for that account. You can also view this from different date ranges. If you choose so, you can ignore dates, or you can select certain dates to view this budget versus actual report and what those amounts are. We can see there's nothing. So if we select the date now, go back a bit, we can see they're backdated a bit, and we can see what those actuals are regards to these accounts. And same with the job reportings, budget versus actual. You can see what different jobs on what different accounts were done and what their actuals are. So there we go. That is your budget video for today. This is by no means a detailed presentation. This is just a brief demonstration on budgeting. If you'd like to know more about our software and what we can do for you, please give us a call down at TrueERP, and we will be more than happy to help you. So there we are. That's budgeting. Thanks for watching.